KMS Rundown. We're back, bitches.
Here is what we are thinking, and if it sounds good to you, we would love to make it happen. Phase 1. We would love to invite Craig to join you guys during a recording of the show at your studio. We could have a segment where we would play a, quote, Fribble Me This game, and even have fans ask questions live on social using the hashtag Fribble Me This.
Shut the fuck up. That is just, what are you laughing at? What? Go ahead, what?
I think it's a good idea.
How awful is that?
It's a good idea.
How'd they come up with that?
I'd love to play Fribble Me This.
Where different callers call up and do what?
Minifans ask questions about burning questions you've always had about friendlies, I guess.
What do you think? What do they think I am? Who's this Craig? Who is this asshole?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Craig didn't see the content of this email before it was sent.
I'm going to push Craig off a limb.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Craig here.
Why? What is Craig's position with the company?
CEO, right?
Yeah.
Then it's his fault then.
That's
true.
It's
his fault.
The buck stops with him.
Yeah.
I want a full-throated apology from Craig and a gift card for $1 million, and I will consider it. I will consider it then. I'm not even kidding. Who is this asshole who sent you this email?
Her name is Sylvia.
Fired! I want her gone! Gone! I mean, what? That's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life.
Well, they're offering.
No wonder they're in the shitter. I mean, Jesus. No wonder we have to rescue them.
They're offering to have us record it at one of their friendlies locations, and they'll bring the treats.
Will they? Oh, that changes everything. Oh, treats. How about some money? Jesus Christ. Are we non-profit here? We do enough of this shit.
All right, it's the KMS Rundown. It is Friday, January 29th. We are back. We are on a 2-week plan. It's myself, Red, in the View studio in my beautiful basement. People have been talking shit about my basement. This place is wonderful. I don't know what everybody's talking about.
So this is why we're getting so many views. Is you just have this running 24/7,
just all the time. We're running this all the time.
View farm over here.
So I'm in the Views studio. We got Ziggy, we got Sheldon. Gentlemen, welcome back. Good to see you. Sheldon is in the office as always. Ziggy.
Yes.
Last 2 weeks of this show. It's been a little while. I want to get your overarching thoughts. Thoughts. Wow. Sorry, thoughts.
Is that how your family pronounces it?
Yeah. Yeah. So
it was. We started in South Carolina. I think we'll get there in a little bit.
Yep.
It was the 2 Mike shows, 2 Jared shows, 2 Steve only shows. So it's kind of nice to have those to be able to compare, which is what we like to do. We like to overanalyze, criticize, compare. But yeah, I think it was a good 2 weeks. This past week of Steve, the past Wednesday show of Just Steve was probably the best Just Steve show we've had, which means it's been a really good week if that's the case. I want to say before we get started, last time we aired, I got some criticism for being a little bit thin, having a little bit of weak wrists. So I've come prepared. I have my wrist weights on. I'm doing a little wrist curl action, not for too long because these are surprisingly heavier than I thought. 5 pounds, 3 pounds on the yellow dumbbell. So I might keep it on for the first segment and then I'll ditch the bit because
you've been talking a lot of shit to Jared Carabas about a Smith machine. So
yes, that's just me, just making sure everyone's on the same page that it wasn't free weight. It was a Smith machine.
Sheldon, thoughts on the last 2 weeks of these shows? I know you've been a big fan of the Blind Mike shows too, so I just want to get that out in front too. You're a big Blind Mike guy, like Ziggy is. So just want to get your thoughts on the show overall the last 2 weeks.
I will not talk about Blind Mike at this point in time.
Okay, all right.
I would say the last week has been great. The show Monday was great with Blind Mike, and then that Steve and Kirk episode it reminded me of the first episode they ever did without Blind Mike, and it was actually surprisingly really good. I mean, Steve wanted to bring stuff up and Kirk didn't want to talk about it and he shut him down. So, I mean, it was great, but it reminded me of the old days almost. So I thought it was actually a really great week, and last week was pretty good too.
I think I'm on record of being a fan of the Kirk and Steve show. I wasn't missing Mike too much when he left, but that feels like it was a long time ago. But I do think this past Wednesday's Kirk and Steve show The bar is very low. Overall, very good show, I thought.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, Red. You definitely were a fan on record.
I
think
to get those things on the record.
It was a very light, like there wasn't anything too heavy. There wasn't much politics, so I think that's why it was a lighthearted show, lighthearted topics for the most part.
So there's a lot of friendlies talk. I want to have that conversation. My number one question would be for Sheldon. Sheldon, do you have anything that's comparable to friendlies out there? Like when they're talking about friendlies every single day, is there like anything that you can compare it to? Or do you have an understanding of what like a friendlies is, or why we're even talking about it so much on the Kirk Minahan show?
I think I kind of understand what it is. There's obviously no friendlies out here. I have not a fucking clue exactly what it is. Is it kind of like, do you have Perkins?
No, no, but we're all familiar with Perkins from
Tiger Woods.
I'm thinking back to
I don't know.
comments on
I don't know where Tiger is getting all those waitresses from, because all the Perkins waitresses I've ever seen, I don't think so.
Then you're on the money, Sheldon, with that, because when I think of friendlies, I think of depressing waiters and waitresses.
You see, and I love Perkins, and their specialty isn't ice cream, but their specialty is pies. Besides, like the food like Friendlies has. So I have no idea what a Friendlies is exactly, except I'm comparing it to Perkins, but it sounds like I'm not too far off.
Well, what could have been? We could have had some good live shows. I've got one right down the street in South Portland. What could have been with that? I love the ice cream. The food's not bad, but Craig really, really screwed this whole thing up. That Kirk rant, I think we played at the top of the show here, was an all-timer for me. I loved it. It reminded me of the EI days when Kirk was having a good time, and he's just ranting about people walking through the hallway, or when he would go into those moods where it would be the Kirk Minahan show on EI. It was awesome to hear that. So I loved a lot of it, but there was a lot of friendlies talk. All right, so Ziggy, that friendlies rant, everything friendlies this week. I don't know if you got a chance to stop by Friendlies, maybe have some food there, throw them some money. But what were you thinking about that?
I was going to. So I think it was 2 weekends ago is when Minifans were like tweeting all their other pictures. I do have one down the road, like you do, Red, but I never made it. Probably will not go until Kirk tells me to, because I'm a kimp like that. Yeah, that segment, I was trying to think back. Like I've probably listened to that from re-listening to the show, like I do, cutting promos for like cutting the clip for this. I've probably listened to that like 5, 6, 7 times, and I laugh every like what I'm trying to say, not very well, is probably my favorite segment in, I don't know, months, 3, 4, 5 months. It just had everything. It wasn't so serious. Like Kirk wasn't actually attacking an actual person he knew. Obviously, Craig Ehrlich is a real person. He was probably hurt by what Kirk said. But it's not like he was, I don't know, ripping someone in his life that you knew is gonna come back and make Kirk maybe feel remorse for it.
He's not the Babson College professor, obviously.
Right, exactly.
That's a very common name.
Very common name. There's 2 of them. But my point being that when Kirk's like going all out at someone, that's when he's on at his best. He's so sharp. Like I think Craig was added to the death list 3 different times. Like he said he wanted to tie the Fribble Me This shirt around his neck and spin him around the room. He said he wanted to put his head in a blender. And then the best was when Steve said, I'm going to go on a limb and say that Craig didn't see this email. And immediately, I'm going to push Craig off a limb. Kirk is just so quick at that stuff. And when he gets in the zone like that, it's unbelievable. And then the like treats. Do they really say treats? He's just, so probably one of my favorite segments in a long time.
Okay. When he read that email about what they could do on the air every week, and Kirk's just like, what the fuck? like he thought Friendlies was trying to be his new program director.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he went off the deep end. It's like, I bet he didn't think he was going to get this response when he sent that email.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah. When he sent that tweet too, like it was perfect when they were taking Friendlies calls again. It was literally like, I was like, we're taking Friendlies calls again. Another Fribble Me This, like we're gonna do that.
I kind of like that because the callers played into it.
It's great.
And even Steve like played into it with doing the fake Friendlies ads, which obviously is a natural at doing really fake radio ads, which we heard with the Blue Nile ad today.
Yeah.
So yeah, even Steve was playing along. So yeah, I think they went into that like, all right, well, whatever, we'll make fun of it. But I don't know. I thought even that was kind of funny because it's just what Kirk can do. He can take the crap and make crap soup.
Oh, he can do it. And so we had, speaking of Steve, so we had the kind of the fake Steve talking about friendlies there. He did mention the email exchange that he had. And as soon as he did, my ears perked up and I thought, this is going to lead to a Ziggy Robinson investigation when it comes to what exactly Steve told them and what exactly was said to him.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything that Steve is reading from
that. So if there were a Minifan out there to say, oh, wow, the show, not just Steve, the show is lying about this. They're lying about the details. Like, Sheldon, who do you think would be that person to throw that out there?
Steve?
Well, no, it was from a fan perspective, it would be one Mayo.
I'm not familiar with him.
So Mayo approaches me, and knowing that I like to dig into this stuff, he's like, wow. Did Steve absolutely lie about that email? Like, did he first say that on Friday that he was basically Mayo tried to give me bad information. So of course I did the digging on my own. So what happened with the email is Steve absolutely threw Craig under the bus, but he didn't necessarily lie about it. It's just kind of snaky Steve. But on Friday in the email, verbatim, if we're to believe what Steve said, was, what are you guys thinking about for a live event? So, right. So that's with the email. And then they get the Fribble Me Back response email. And Steve's initial response when they're reading the Fribble Me This email is, like I said earlier, I don't think Craig saw the contents of the email.
Exactly.
Right. It was that bad. So Steve at first is giving him the benefit of the doubt, but then Kirk starts to like rip into Craig. So then Steve jumps on and starts ripping into Craig, even though in Steve's mind, Craig didn't even see the email that was sent.
Yes.
So he's just throwing him under the bus there. And then Kirk turns his sights on Steve and is like blaming him for like asking him, did you ask them for suggestions? And Steve is like, no, I was asking about money. I was asking if they're interested in advertising or a live show, which again, he said his email was, what are you guys thinking for an event? Which is so vague and has nothing to do with money or advertising.
There are weasel words abound in there.
Right.
This is Steve. This is peak Steve with the weasel words, and he's very generic in this, and he can get his way out of that, and he can do his thing. This is Steve all over again, right?
When you're trying to close a sale, which essentially this is what this was. Right. You don't just be very vague. And then when the person misinterprets your vagueness, you just like jump on board and jump down the throat. I mean, it was funny. And in hindsight,
great.
Craig clearly has like no idea what he's doing because that's Superman flavor stuff.
But we also have no idea what that email said. So, I mean, Steve just made that email sound like it was what he wanted it to be. And then when Kirk's like, fuck this, Steve's like, oh, pivot.
Right. But at one point, Steve did say this, like he at least made it seem like he was reading the email verbatim, in which he was just asking about like live events. But yeah, you never know that he could have just been pretending to look at his phone and just made that up. Because at the time, like you said, that's what he thought Kirk wanted to hear. And then he pivoted and was a weasel and a snake.
Yes. No way, really.
A weasel and a snake. Sheldon, by the way, as we're talking about Steve and Kirk, you're the drip that they were talking about today. Did you have a response at all? I wanted to get there too before we got too far down the road here. Is there a response that you have?
I mean, I like that caller. Well, I don't know who it was, but I mean, he didn't sound like a drip. And yeah, I mean, I'll take that. I'm a drip from somebody who couldn't even be on the air at Howie Carr anymore. Yeah, I'm the drip. Whatever.
Is the area code even close?
Fuck no. Area code is 701 here.
So that was he was just trying to get a shot in on you. It feels like.
Yeah, I was surprised because Kirk usually knows your voice like right away.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, who has the new show on the Howie Carr Network? Oh, that's right. It's not Steve.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah. So actually,
yes.
While we're on this subject, beginning of 2 weeks ago, so last Monday, I think, Steve said when they were first talking about you, Sheldon, that you haven't really he made it seem like you haven't been following up, and he was telling Kirk to be quiet because he doesn't want you to follow up. So what is the latest of you coming into studio? I think the fans want to hear.
Yeah, Sheldon, how come you haven't been following up with Steve?
Well,
is this your fault?
I don't know why I'm supposed to follow up with Steve, because first of all, I live in fucking North Dakota. I have a farm with cattle, so I can't just drop everything and come out to the East Coast. But also, I won that raffle ticket, so is it really my job to just keep hounding Steve to see when I can come in, or shouldn't he reach out to me and be like, well, what days would work for you? What month? Blah, blah, blah. I haven't heard anything since I won. And I mean,
I think you need to send him a daily email or a daily DM or both.
Can you do me a favor? Can you just DM him and ask him how's February looking? Just do the month thing that he does.
I'll do it right now.
Steve, how does February look? Will you do it right now? That's awesome.
I'm going to do it right now.
Who's the guy that tweets every day to Greg Hill and tells him that?
Redline Callahan.
Yeah, maybe you could do that every day. Tweet at Steve, asking when you can come.
I'm sure we're muted, like Mike muted all of us, except we should watch more on money, but whatever.
Well, Steve said he mutes a lot of the fans too that criticize the show.
Yeah, I think
he said it in the same breath as me, which if Steve thinks I criticize the show, I mean I criticize Steve, obviously.
Yes.
So
I openly criticize Steve all the time. I know he has me muted. I don't think I've also been told I'm a kimp, so I don't know if I'm critical of the show too. I have no idea.
Okay, I sent it off. How is February looking?
There you go. Perfect.
So if his wife lets him look at his phone tonight, maybe I'll get a response.
Your GOG.
Hi, I'd like to be on the air.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to be on the air.
Why is that?
I got a couple points I need to make about what's going on down here.
What do you mean by what's going on?
Just overall, just the entire climate, the general, and Mocha Mountain being closed today. And I'm a friend of George Allgood.
By what? Say that again?
Is this Gary Butts?
No, it is not.
Where's Gary?
Gary's on the air, sir.
Can you butts in and get him on, please?
I will not.
Is your refrigerator running?
All right. So with the new schedule, the 2 weeks, we've missed a couple of things when it comes to the case and the travel that comes with the case. And then also the controversial show last Wednesday. What I thought was controversial, I think we agree, a lot of the fans talking about the Kirk and Steve on the road show, traveling around. I noticed it was interesting. It seemed like there was a lot of chatter about it, as there normally is. But then Kirk didn't address that on the Friday show, which I thought was interesting. Typically, he talks about, it going one way or another. Some people loved it, hated it, whatever. But Ziggy, when it comes to the case and the travel that's happening, it's giving us some good Steve nuggets, too, of him screwing things up. What did you think about the Kirk and Steve travel show?
Yeah, well, as far as the criticism, first off, if you're one that's looking forward to the case, to the secret project, which I think all of us are, and I think the overwhelming majority of people are, if you're looking forward to that, you need to be okay with them, A, traveling, B, doing 3 days a week, because that's what they feel like they need to do to get the show, the case, where it needs to be. So it's important to remember, this is kind of an infomercial because I'm a kimp again. Is we will be getting new extra content and it'll be totally different. So it's sometimes you're going to have a Bagger Carcass episode where they're just whatever, we'll just drive around and record an episode. And sometimes you're going to have an episode like Monday where the audio is terrible. Oh wait, that's actually because Steve is just a terrible producer and absolutely doesn't care about the KMS show and had 1,000 different reasons why he couldn't get the right equipment. So it was pick the excuse. It was MLK Sunday, that notorious day before MLK when stores shut down early. He didn't have dinner, right? He needed to eat. And of course, as he was driving all around South Carolina, there's no fast food places open, even though he's talked about all the places he's gone to down there. And then obviously the Wi-Fi issue at 6:30, you got to fix the Wi-Fi. That's a legitimate excuse. except he didn't give that reason until like 10 minutes after Kirk was like ripping into him. If that, like, that's a good reason. If you have a good reason why, you use that right off the top. So that to me says, was he actually troubleshooting the Wi-Fi, or is this just like, all right, I need something to get out of this. Kirk's digging into me. Yeah, it was a Wi-Fi, and obviously Kirk's not going to understand that because he doesn't know like anything technical. So I don't even know if I believe that. It's just like so many excuses, which is what you would expect.
I've never been in a hotel where the Wi-Fi has been good. It's never happened. There's no troubleshooting around it. It's just there's how many people in a hotel and the Wi-Fi is not going to be great. That's just the way that is. So I don't know what Steve would have been troubleshooting, especially at 6 o'clock at night when he's in his pajama jams. I don't know what he would have done.
He made it seem like he was on the phone with the Marriott's IT specialist
Right.
like, out of Marriott headquarters. Like, what are they going to do for the Wi-Fi in room like 317? I don't know. It just made no sense.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to add, he went to a grocery store and a pharmacy to look for this this equipment that he was missing. I mean, pharmacy, come on.
But it's just an adapter, right, for the headphones, if I'm understanding it correctly.
If you're understanding Cullinan, yeah.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true. Sheldon, you must have really enjoyed that whole thing. I know I was enjoying it. Steve just getting Kirk finally ripping into Steve. It's been too long. He's been a little bit of a low T Kirky when it comes to Steve and letting him get away with stuff. So finally we got that. You must have really enjoyed it, Sheldon, because you are a notorious Steve hater.
He was very mad, and I appreciated it because there's no fucking way he went anywhere to look for that piece that he was missing. Because if you remember the Friday before, he said he wanted to record on the phone or on StreamYard or whatever.
Right.
He kept talking about that, and then Kirk wanted to do it like they usually do. Well, okay. Well, he didn't bring that stuff on purpose, and he sure as fuck didn't go anywhere to look for it. Well, everything's closed. It's Martin Luther King Day the next day. No, it's not. Shit, everything's open on fucking Christmas and everything. Right. You can't tell me there's not a Walmart within 20 miles of where they were, and that would have been open and had that piece. So he didn't go, and then as he kept talking and coming up with excuses, he's like, well, I didn't eat all day. And then Kirk was screaming at him. And he's like, well, I hadn't eaten since breakfast. Oh, I thought you didn't eat all day. So, yeah, I know that's usually what I do. I usually just get into my PJs and order room service in and walk around in my socky socks. What the fuck are we doing here?
Your night before Christmas shirt, I think.
God.
Right. And then so Sunday night, 6:30. Like that's the latest that he could do. He couldn't do any more. There was no more work to be done. But he hasn't disregarded the Kirk Minahan show at all. He still loves this show. Works hard for it.
It's his favorite.
Yes. And then Kirk wasn't just mad about the audio. He was also mad about like what Steve was bringing to that show. So I think the only story Steve brought was on Sarah Fuller, the Vanderbilt kicker. And then Kirk gave him a hard time for that. And then I guess Kirk had sent Steve like Kamala Harris audio, and Kirk was like, all right, what do you have? And Steve starts talking about like the hypocrisy of the audio or something or whatever the story was. And Kirk was like, no, I sent it to you because it was funny audio. Like he just doesn't get the show. Like it was perfect as a listener, even though the audio was bad to, like you said, Red, to hear Kirk like finally rip into Steve, which is what at least the three of us and a lot of people on Twitter like to hear.
Honestly, I don't think he was even mad about the equipment not being there and the shitty audio. I think what sent Kirk over the edge the most was seeing Steve in the lobby in his fucking pajamas and his socks.
Yeah, is it like bare socks, not sandals? It was just walking around with.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, it sounded like just socks.
So
it's a wild move.
I mean, Steve could have said all of this, and Kirk would have been like, "Well, fine, fair enough." But he saw Steve in his fucking pajamas and his socks, and he's just like, "I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna fucking kill him." And that's exactly what he did.
At one point, Steve said he got his his food from the hotel, and then he saw Kirk come around the corner, and he like knew that he was in trouble, which means in his head he had a guilty conscience of, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Oh, Kirk saw me. I'm dressed like a doofus.
He wasn't ready, and he wasn't ready for the show.
No.
So Steve walking around like that, and then Kirk can't even properly rip Joe Zarbano like he wants to.
Yep.
So I think that was probably what he was mostly pissed about that day, right? Is he just can't rip into Zarbano because it sounds like shit. And that's all we really want if the old school listeners just be able to dance on Zarbarno's grave. So Steve just totally dicked that whole thing as he always does.
Like as I sit here, the title for today's show is Steve's Pajamas, and the first sentence is Steve ruins today's show because he was more interested in lounging around in his PJs and eating like a pig than finding the right audio equipment. I mean, that's basically that episode in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's Steve right
And
there.
when I was listening, the show like tweeted out one of the clips of Kirk ripping into him, and I was saying, how is this like? Kirk's at one point was telling Steve like, I'm going to throw you off the mountains or something.
Yeah.
He's just absolutely screaming at him. I was thinking if another Barstool podcast host had like yelled at a producer like that, it'd be all over Stool Scenes if they had the video, or I think it would at least be tweeted out or talked about on one of the radio shows. But like stuff like that, in my opinion, would a regular stoolie listening to Kirk like rip into his producer, like that's going to drag people in, and that's something I feel like I've talked about this before, but like the lack of Barstool promotion, whether they ask for it or not, like it's just too bad that something like that, which is just you don't hear a podcast host rip into their producer in that way too often. It's too bad it wasn't like at least tweeted out or on the Viva La Stool account. That seems like that's what it's for.
And if the audio had been better, if
That's
Steve
true.
had done his job, I think it would have been something that should have been done. You could have it. You can check right now and see. I think Steve's last blog that he's done from the show account on Barstool was in
Check every day.
Yeah, November. So the profile's not there. The bio's not there. That's something that could be blogged, and then instantly people are going to latch onto that when Kirk Minahan is telling Steve that he wants to throw him off a mountain. People are going to want to watch that. It's the same thing. It's the same drama that happens with Brandon Walker shoving somebody or anything else. It's people are going to want to watch. They're going to want to listen. They're going to want to subscribe. It's going to happen. So I guess Steve will save all that stuff for the case. Maybe is when he'll start doing some promotion there too. I don't know.
Well, like the rate it's going, Kirk's, they want to solve the case, but he always says how they're in danger. He wants to get Steve killed now. Like, that show, he wanted Steve to get killed. You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah, there was real anger there.
Oh, God. It was the best.
I mean, he had been with him for whatever, that whole weekend, like all day doing investigations. Anyone would be as mad as Kirk is after spending that much time with Steve.
That's too much time with Steve. I don't know if they drove down together or not. I'm assuming
there's no fucking way.
But that's a lot of Steve time, man. So I could see by the time you see him in his jammies, you're probably so pissed at him at that point.
Yeah, jammies.
And then we got the car experience with the bagger carcass.
Which
that audio was better than Monday's audio.
I'll say it. And I'm going to be called a Kemp or whatever else, man. But I still think like I actually really enjoyed that show for what it was supposed to be, what it was going to be, what Kirk was going for. Where you talk about a road trip and two guys hanging out, shooting the shit and busting balls, like that's exactly what that show could have been. I think with a couple of tweaks, with Kirk actually riding along with somebody that he has some chemistry with and somebody who can take Kirk's joke and build upon it. I think that could have been really, really good. But when Kirk is with Steve, it's only going to be so good when they're in the car. But I think it was a great idea. I actually enjoyed it for what it was, but I can see why people didn't. Like,
not enough people are talking about the fact that it was the first podcast ever recorded on a cell phone.
That's true.
That's definitely being overlooked.
First time, yeah. It's amazing. They did it again. It's unbelievable. Steve's ignorance knows no bounds, man. He is sneaky dumb. Not even sneaky dumb. Steve is a moron. He's a stone cold moron.
You think he had the Blue Nile ad written down, or did he did that from memory when he read it in the car?
Oh, by the way, yeah, the Fat Rock, Blue Nile, Steve doing the ad today on Friday's show. That was clearly just Steve doing that afterwards when everybody was gone. Right?
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Like, nobody's in the studio. I'm just gonna bang through this because I'm a Russian robot.
Right now, I'm going to talk to you about Blue Nile.
Like, God, where should I put it in this episode? Right here.
Must sound authentic.
The beginning of the Gary Butts episode, I thought, like the first 10 minutes, I thought Steve was driving because he seemed like or at least what I thought was he seemed so slow to catch on to what Kirk was saying. So I figured like, oh, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's driving. He's making sure. Obviously, I forgot that that's how Steve always is. And Kirk was the one driving. And at first in my brain, I was like, wow, Steve is really using his blinker a lot. And then of course it's Kirk. So I got to criticize Kirk driving like an old lady, using his blinker nonstop.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, yeah, no one's behind him. Just I don't know.
See, this pisses me off. Ziggy, you massholes, you never use your blinker anywhere. And here you are sitting here criticizing somebody for using their blinker.
Yeah,
he's a Massachusetts driver finally using his blinker.
Yeah, but if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no traffic, you don't need to use your blinker.
He drives his
when you're fucking recording a podcast.
I won't stand for this. As a Mainer, as a responsible driver,
I'll throw
nothing pisses
I'll
me off.
merge lanes and then I'll throw my blinker on afterwards. Like, yeah, I know that I didn't use it here. I'll throw it just so you know that I know.
You are the worst. You guys are the worst. Stay out of my state. Summers are not for you. Get out of here. So I can't believe that's what you locked on to immediately. Was
yeah, it was the first that blinker noise specifically. I don't have many. I haven't had many new cars in my life, but that new in my mind, the new car blinker noise.
Yeah.
I don't know, for whatever reason, it just gets to me. Bad experiences in rental cars, maybe. I don't know.
My favorite during that episode is Steve getting to the ads with Kirk and then just expecting Kirk to read the ad as Kirk is also driving. So he's supposed to drive and read at the same time. Like, it's just like Kirk is just doing everything and Steve's just sitting there. He could easily just have the ad and pull it up. He could be ready. He could have planned for this, but nope. Can't do it. Can't be
trying to find all those bags and carcasses.
And he's still lost.
He's still lost. Yeah.
Still lost. God.
Yeah, he was. And I don't know how the hell a carcass isn't worth more than a bag.
Yeah, that makes no sense. I'm glad Kirk brought that up. Because at one point, go ahead.
Why even call it bag and carcass then? What does it matter? You could say it's either or. It's the same fucking amount of points.
Well, so my understanding was that it's 2 points for the carcass and 1 for the bag. You're telling me it's 1 for 1?
Yeah, it's
1 for 1.
It's
That's horseshit. What the hell?
There was one
life worth. What's a life worth if it's not 2? Come on.
There was one time where like it seems like they saw a carcass and a bag at the same time, and Kirk's like bag, and then Steve jumps carcass, and then Steve is like rookie mistake. You called the bag, not the carcass. But then like 5 minutes later, they're talking to Kirk's asking like, why is the carcass worth 1 point? So yeah, don't. Steve is just like obviously has broken my brain. I'm not gonna say it ruins the podcast for me, but I can't not pick up on these stupid little things that he says.
Steve derangement syndrome.
Steve derangement syndrome is alive and well inside.
It's real and it hurts. And you listen to him, he is a moron. And
stars and bars, not because that's what he's calling it, but that's local terminology.
Yeah, that's what they're always talking about in South Carolina, the stars and bars.
Yeah.
Oh,
country music, the same 3 chords, which is like a legitimate critique that people give. But when you're someone that nonstop says, I know nothing about music, but then you turn around and say something as if you know something about music.
Right.
I don't know.
I love Leonard Skinner, don't get me wrong, but if you're going to sit there and criticize country music, I don't understand. You can't be a Leonard Skinner fan and then criticize country music for that.
Today's country music just the same 3 chords. It's like, where did you hear that? Like, who'd you get that little nugget from that you put away in the back of your brain? Sheldon, I know it seems like Kirk's not a country music guy. I know you kind of are. So that is a strike against you. In the Sheldon column, but there was a time in this episode where they drove by like DPW workers, and Kirk said they're all smoking, and he said something like those are guys that I like. So that gives me a little bit of hope for you, Sheldon, that he might at some point see you as just an average guy that blue collar, hardworking guy.
There's no hope. I'm just some drip from North Dakota. It doesn't matter what I do. I mean, it's already cast in stone. It is what it is.
Oh, I forgot to mention that too during the ad read in the car. Steve did say the exact quote is, "Who the hell wants to go into a mall these days?" Was the question that he asked for the Blue Nile ad read, which is great because then you can get right to the Milton's ad, which is awesome. Yeah. He's the best in the business. I love him.
In the biz. And I don't want to go down the ad read hole too much because you see what happens with the Menners and the Mayo and the main show stuff.
Yes.
But however, I think this is a Steve criticism. At first, with the Blue Nile ads, which is a great company, everyone should Go sponsor. Go support them. At first, Steve said he has experience buying a ring online. He got it. He realized it was the wrong size. He sent it back. But today he said, I got a ring online. I didn't like what it looked like, and I sent it back. So you got to be consistent if you're going to go with the story that you've used the product before.
It's almost like he's never done it.
Listen, Sheldon, I won't stand for that. He's gotten a fat rock from Blue Nile.
Fat ass
How many
rock,
times?
yeah.
Fat ass rock. How many times, Sheldon? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, he could just, well, he said he got it out of the fucking Nile. It's the same thing. Whatever. But I won't sit here and criticize Steve all day because I could literally do it all day.
I don't like his look. I don't like his jerk off face. I don't like his jerk off attitude. He's an enemy.
All right, random notes. My favorite segment where we try and one up each other. I've got a bunch. My number one, I keep coming back to this because Kirk keeps bringing it up. In-N-Out Burger is not overrated. It is properly rated as a quality burger. I've been many times. I love In-N-Out Burger. They've got better fries than Five Guys. It's a quality burger. It runs like a Swiss watch as Chick-fil-A does. I won't stand for it. The In-N-Out slander that comes from Kirk, it doesn't make any sense.
Two of those things, I agree with two of those. The fries are definitely better than In-N-Out, and the service is quick. I would say overrated in the sense, for me, like I've been once, everyone talks about it, and a little soggy. I think I did get animal style, so like everything's just like lumped together. So it's a little soggy. I hate you
so much. God,
it wasn't bad. It's just overrated. It was a little overrated.
It's not. It's properly rated. It's quality. It's good. I don't.
Yeah,
not the best burger I've ever had, and that's how it's rated. So it's overrated.
Sheldon,
I'm assuming Sheldon has never left.
Please help me out on this.
Yeah, I've never had In-N-Out, so I can't even comment on it, and I have no desire to have it. So how about that?
Have you had artichoke pizza?
God,
because that was Steve's topping of choice.
There is no fucking way that was his favorite topping. Oh, I like. Oh, there's just no way. That is a goddamn lie. And we would already have known that all the times they talked about pizza before. And now to bring it up just sounds fucking stupid.
I'm proud of all the Steve haters that we did not swing at that pitch because Steve was trying way too hard with that.
You think with artichoke?
There's no way that's real. There's no way.
I've said this in the past when talking about his politics, where like he just says what he thinks people want to hear at that given time, but he really like goes back and forth. He does the same thing with food. So at times he's like a wine snob. He's a food snob. He does the cooking show. But then an artichoke on pizza. But then the other times it's like, oh, I go crazy at the takeout place in South Carolina. Oh, Mike, I'm going to challenge you to a McDonald's competition, and we're both going to fail miserably. Kirk said that Steve got a large fry at Chick-fil-A, which I have stumbled upon this recently. I mean, it's not a secret, but the large fry has been a game changer for me because I'm never full after a regular Chick-fil-A meal. Large fries only 30 cents more, perfect value. Steve's not being able to finish a large fry when on the other side, he'll say a huge eater eats all this food. So he can't finish a large fry. And then I think 2 times ago when they're in South Carolina, he had leftovers from his burrito. Sometimes he eats like a bird, and then other times he's just an animal. He's all over the place. I don't know what the true Steve is. I think it's probably that he eats like a bird. Because I like that image of him being peckish and not eating 2 fries and they're soggy, so he's just going to throw them away. But
it's inexcusable to me to be able to go to Chick-fil-A and not finish the fries.
Yeah,
it's just another reason to hate that guy. God,
it's fine if like you get a large fry. Oh, I over ordered, but again, he loves talking about how much he can eat. He gets the Wendy's sweats. Like I had 6 sandwiches from Burger King this week. Big deal. Like I'm not bragging about it, even though I'm bragging about it now. But
what a humble brag.
No big deal.
Humble brag, yeah, big humble brag. The other last food thought. Steve called eggs scramby eggs. Scrambies is fine. Throw Ride famously scrambies, pow, right? Yeah. But scramby eggs that was triggering for me.
Well, I think scramby eggs is a movie reference. Okay. So I'm not going to go at Steve for this. I believe there's a Scramby Eggs and Jewis is a Cable Guy line from Jim Carrey.
So you think noted cinephile Steve Robinson was going for the deep reference?
I cannot give him credit for that. I will say that
okay, it is possible.
It's a deep cut, and I don't think Steve can get there.
Scramby eggs on my face if that is the case.
I did think this will be another note, and I'm going to pass this off to you guys. But how nice was it that Steve actually spent the money on Mike's Patreon so we can get some drops in there? It was not nice for him to do that. I'm glad he did that. So thank you, Steve, for the mic drops.
Most drops he's ever had.
More of those. Yeah. So I did enjoy that. Sheldon, you got a random note?
Yeah. Are we ready to wind up Sheldon on Blind Mike?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Speaking of Blind Mike, Sheldon, how good is Blind Mike? How good is his show? How he's a hard worker. Keep in mind we have Ziggy here. Ziggy is a Blind Mike simp. He's a blimp. He's a big Blind Mike guy. Please, Sheldon, the floor is yours. Please give me all of your thoughts on Blind Mike.
Okay. I used to like Blind Mike. I thought he was a good third on the show and everything. But he's terrible. He's fucking awful. Okay. I don't need stock advice from Blind Mike. He doesn't know a fucking thing about anything.
He's a money man. He's a money man.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Hey, look at this. People are making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on the stock market. I made 34 grand last year. Guess what? Everyone who was in the fucking stock market last year was making it because you know why? The fucking pandemic. But no, hey, come listen to me on Moron Money. You know what I don't want to do? Listen to Blind Mike tell me about fucking stocks. And now the next episode is him and Steve talking crypto. Oh, Lottie fucking da. Oh, I left the Kirk Minahan show so I can do it on my own. Yeah, you're not doing it on your fucking own. You know why? Because all your fans are people from the Kirk Minahan show world. It ain't on your goddamn own. I mean, holy shit. You guess what? You could have just came back and stayed 3 days a week and kept working. Oh, well, I left. Dave Portnoy doesn't like me. Big fucking deal. My boss doesn't like me and I still work here. I mean, holy shit. No, I'm not gonna fucking pay for his Patreon. I'm not gonna listen to the free ones. You know why? Because I listen to him on Mondays, and that's enough because he pisses me off. Okay, I'm
done.
Wow,
Wind him up, let him go.
I'm sweating. Holy cow! That's great. Wow. So you're a big Blind Mike fan, is what you're saying?
I don't hate the guy, but he pisses me off.
He does not like to promote his show. It's an odd instinct on his part.
I do like doing it on my own, but I don't want to promote it on the fucking main show that I'm on every Monday. Oh my God.
Can I give you maybe a counterpoint though? Blind Mike talking Larry King on Blind Mike's show was better than what they did on KMS.
Guess what? I didn't fucking hear it on Blind Mike's show because I'm not going to listen.
All right, sorry. Ziggy, the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, I feel like I need to give. I'm not even going to defend Mike because
you blimp. Go ahead.
My whole thing is I like when Mike's on the show. His content, I don't. His free content's been fine. Yeah, then just don't listen. I don't know what to tell you, Sheldon. Don't listen.
Sheldon, do you remember when Mike was on the show and Ziggy called in that one time and totally murdered Blind Mike?
Lit a fire under him. Then he was good. And then
you totally murdered him.
Yeah. I mean, the timing of that may have been when he was at his worst, but
yes.
How am I supposed to know that?
Yeah, but
when he was at his absolute worst and he's sitting there in front of
and then he was good. And then
you called into his work and just absolutely murdered him in front of his boss. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and then he was good for a month, and then Steve from Providence tried to lead him out to the edge of the cliff.
It was all Steve.
Yeah, you just gonna blame Steve. That's great. Ziggy, the floor is yours. You got a random note for me?
Yes, we got Sporty R. McKenzie, and yes. Kirk was just like dishing out the one-liners, like take the bucks and you'll make some bucks. 3rd and 8, and it's too late. 3rd and 2, and you'll be smelling your goo. And anytime you can,
Mike was good on that, by the way. Mike
was good on that. Yep, definitely. Anytime you can get a Dorito Dink reference, it's a good segment. That's just the classic throwback to the Deflategate days. I'm sure Sheldon has no idea who Dorito Dink is.
No,
inside reference, but and of course they were talking about sports radio, they're talking about how overrated Vin Scully is. Sheldon, you can respond in a moment to that claim. But when they're talking about play-by-play guys, and they've done this in the past, of course, Steve never mentions the fact that he did play-by-play for women's hockey at Bowdoin. And I'm not even saying that's a lie, because it's just a weird thing to make up. But why would you never bring that up on the countless times they've talked about play-by-play people in the past?
Why would you
actually done
tennis?
Right. Mention it during the tennis when they were talking about play-by-play.
There's So maybe, I mean, I don't want to just say, oh, it's a lie, Steve lies, because I like to have proof. But I don't know why. I have no reason why he wouldn't bring that up, because that's obviously a funny story somewhere. If it's true, he even said he was terrible, and people complained. If that's true, that's a funny story. Bring that up on the show. So I would like to see, even if it's not true, even better that. Remember when they had the whole Yankees fans in the office and they trashed the place? They had Ellie Schnitt do play-by-play. Yep. Like that would be funny if Steve were doing play-by-play for, I don't know what an event that people actually, the Minifans care about. But something like that would be good content if they force Steve to do play-by-play and just make it absolutely.
I think that's a great idea. With them doing some night tapings too, I think they could do. I think Steve doing play-by-play, I think would be pretty fucking hilarious.
Like maybe if Jared does messes up somehow and gets in the doghouse, and then Steve has to do play-by-play for a Red Sox opener or something. Right. Jared has to sit and listen.
Right.
But Sheldon, Vin Scully, overrated?
Okay. Kirk is right about a lot of stuff. Totally fucking wrong about this. I mean, a lot of people hate baseball. I love baseball. I really don't care. It's one of the best radio sports there is, and I don't give a shit what you think. But that guy can call a baseball game and tell stories like you're there. So Kirk's saying that he's overrated. And you know why? Because he's never fucking listened to him. So you're goddamn wrong.
He lived in California. I'm sure he listened.
Oh, I don't give a shit. I live in North Dakota. I don't listen to UND hockey games.
But you listen to Vin Scully.
Yeah, because I like the Dodgers.
Because you're a Lakers fan. Or you're a Dodgers fan. I agree with Kirk on this. Vin Scully is definitely overrated.
No, he's not fucking overrated.
Because he's fine, but
no.
But
go ahead. The floor is yours. I'm gonna shut this down in a second. Go ahead.
When people think boring baseball, they think like not necessarily Vin Scully, but that same type of kind of monotonous, slow talking announcer. So it just gives a bad reputation to what is a very exciting sport.
Okay, yeah, but here's the deal. Ziggy, I'm gonna accuse you of this, and Kirk. You guys are the guys who will tell you something is overrated, whether it's In-N-Out Burger or Vin Scully. If something goes pop, you guys are the first ones to say, "Oh, overrated." Blah blah blah. Oh, no, Springsteen. False. I don't like Born to Run. I like the deep cuts. I like this. I like
Born to Run.
Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up. As what's her Ellie Schnitt would say. You guys are totally full of shit on this. All right. Yeah. If it's popular, that's okay. It's properly rated.
It's not that they're popular. Both In-N-Out and Vin Scully are by many people said to be the best, the very top, which means you can't get better than them. You can't rate higher than them. So they are overrated because they're not actually up here. They're maybe down here, but in my opinion, there's some better ones.
It's baseball play-by-play. Mountains are not built here, okay? We're just saying that Vin Scully is very skilled at what he does. He's properly rated. Yeah, is there any other play-by-play baseball guy that you can even mention right now?
Tim Neverett.
Who?
No, Joe Castig. He's the GOAT.
Jesus
Joe
Christ.
Castiglio and Shaw's Supermarket. Yeah.
I'm not
even participating in this.
Right, anything else we can get Sheldon triggered by? Let me think. Let me look at my notes.
Oh, I've got a good one. Sheldon, how about Chris, the visiting nurse from Rhode Island? He got on the show on Monday by just calling in randomly. Like they weren't asking for calling. They were just picking up. They just picked up a random phone call, and it was Chris, the visiting nurse from Rhode Island. How good was that? That was pretty good.
I actually love that because he's like, well, if they're taking calls and I call in, I'm going to get aborted. I'll just keep calling because I know they're recording. Maybe they'll answer.
Maybe you can answer this for me though. I don't understand. Why doesn't he just get on there, Ziggy? Why won't he just call in and just ask whatever question he wants to ask without calling himself Chris, the visiting nurse?
He did that last time and he got through and hung up before Steve.
I think he knows that anything that he would ask about is not going to be as entertaining as the recurring bit of him calling in and getting aborted. And Jared, they didn't pick up on this on the main show, but Jared on the wrap-up show that he went on, said that the abortion drop is way too long and is way overused, which is obviously the case. No one could disagree with that. The only time I think it is appropriate is with Chris, the visiting nurse from Rhode Island, because it's such a juxtaposition of, you feel bad for this guy. He's a nice guy trying to call in. They just flush him right away. So that's the only time it should be used.
Yeah, I think there was another one where Kirk actually put it perfectly with Steve. I made a note of this. He said, I think you understand it intellectually, but I don't think you understand it emotionally. When he's talking about Steve.
Madawaska.
Yeah, the finances of it and how he treats the Minifans. He treats us like money on the dresser. Here you go, Minifans. Like, that's it. That's Steve. So I did like that quote. I made sure to make a note of that. That was perfect by Kirk on that one for Steve. So.
Yeah, what was funny with the Madawaska stuff was they're getting excited about doing it in June and the opportunities that presents. And Steve's talking about, we can have a tent, we could do it outside. And then 5 minutes later, we're going to have to raise the cost because we're getting a tent.
Yeah,
is that really? Were you really excited, or you just want to jack up the price?
He doesn't get it. Like, if he would just treat us like we weren't just fucking dollar signs, like, they would actually do more business. Like, Kirk even said that. Well, we do this, and it helped us sell out the Wilbur.
Right.
Yeah, and Steve acted like he never heard of that. Yeah, no shit. Because if you treat us all like dollar signs and like, we're gonna have to raise the price and all this and that. Well, yeah, we're gonna tell you to fuck off. Like, I think it's not that hard to figure out, but you learn from fucking Howie Carr.
So when it comes to Madawaska and that June show, I know it's hard for you to get here, Sheldon, but I'll put it out to both of you guys. With everything going on, are you guys going to be in the running? Are you guys going to purchase tickets? Are you going to be able to go? Are you gonna try and go for that, Ziggy?
Yeah. Now that if it is in the summer, I'll definitely try to buy tickets. If it were in the winter, I don't know if I would have. But if I don't get tickets, I think people will definitely go up. And try to kind of hang around, just obviously not go to the live show. I don't know if that's going to be me. Anyone that saw me at Saco knows I'm not necessarily a social butterfly. I was kind of I found a group that seemed nice, so I just kind of stayed on the outside of that group and maybe talk to someone if they came up to me and approached me. But I'm not looking to just kind of like mosey my way up to people that I don't know, or even people that I do know. And the mask would get a little hot up there too.
I was gonna say, you're gonna go mask on for that? Are you gonna?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I'll try to buy tickets because you can't miss out on that opportunity if you have that opportunity.
Sheldon, you've come to Maine, you've come to live shows. Are you gonna come back for Madawaska?
Yeah, June's really tough for me because
how does June look for you? How does June look?
How's your June?
Okay, well, it's like when Steve emails Portnoy, but yeah, I'm going to be trying to get cattle off the pastures and starting to make hay. And
yeah, that's probably a little tough.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Winters
and
are easier.
Well, now, if Kirk says he doesn't want me there, then I'll make sure I try and get out.
Red, you famously hid from Kirk at soccer.
I did not hide.
You hid, and I witnessed it.
No. I chose.
So it's hard for you to hide as well.
It's very difficult
to hide behind.
I don't have an interest to talk to Kirk. I don't want to get the photo. I'd rather just kind of stay separated.
So would you go and just avoid that part of it?
I would definitely go. I would definitely avoid that whole thing. I got sucked in. I fell in love with Carm, and I told John that. I was talking to her. I'd rather talk to Carm and get my photo with Carm than with Kirk. And that's no disrespect to Podcast Jesus, but we're talking about Carm here. So I went for it, man. Shooters got to shoot. So I did it, man. So it is what it is. I did not hide. I'm a grown-ass man. I would not hide.
Fair enough.
Man.
Well, there was a guy who went up there and hid in his car the whole time. I ain't going to mention any names.
Yeah, that's also true.
But
yeah, but I'm looking forward to that show, man. I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to try and get up to it. It's going to be a tough ticket, though.
Yes, it will.
We'll see. Are there any other random notes that you guys have?
Sheldon, you have anything?
Let's see the random notes. I got the Steve's a liar guy's letter.
Ah, yes.
Was the absolute funniest fucking thing.
You liked it?
Which was totally parody, totally funny.
It had to have been a parody.
At no point did you take that seriously, right, Sheldon?
No, because if he was going to take it seriously, he wouldn't have been throwing all those shots left and right, including burying DC and MHB, which was the best.
Kirk totally took it as a joke, obviously. But I was
know
amazed to see all these dummy fans on there.
But
that were-
I don't know. I think I think there was truth in the fact that he's stepping back. I guess I don't know at what extent, but
No.
you
No.
so you think if Kirk didn't respond the way he did, then next week we would have gotten a song.
I don't think either way. I think what he was doing was making a joke, and he used it to also respond to those guys.
Actually, I disagree with that.
Well,
Oh, you're wrong.
you're wrong. I'm telling you.
He stepped back before when the pandemic started.
Yeah, but he didn't write.
We didn't get a song from him for how long?
Right, but he didn't write. He that was for his own reason. I don't know. I do think that he got the heat. He felt the heat, felt the criticism.
Where did he get the heat from, Ziggy? He's not even on Twitter. He's
Obviously on Twitter. I think that's kind of revisionist history. He's not publicly on Twitter, but there's no way a fan as dedicated as he is would not be on Twitter and just lurk, because anyone knows that like a lot of stuff goes on Twitter that if you're following the show and obviously getting all the references that we know he gets, a lot of stuff you're going to miss if you're not on Twitter and you're not seeing who Kirk's retweeting or quote tweeting or whatever. So he's obviously on Twitter. To think he's not as stupid but yeah, I actually took it as a real thing. Obviously he was throwing jokes in there. It would have been better as a song than a letter, because that's what he does.
Your Stegosaurus brain.
It's a damn
Unbelievable.
If he was going to step away, he wouldn't say anything. He would just leave.
Right. It was just
I think he knows enough that you can't just do that. I don't know. I didn't read it that way, and I honestly don't think Kirk read it that way. I think Kirk thought he was being serious in the sense that he wanted to step away. No. This is what I hate when you don't get the show. I get the show. I get the show.
I don't think.
And I get the Minifan. And I get the Minifans like Steve's alive.
It was clearly a joke. Clearly an avenue. It was a tool for him to be able to dunk on all those idiots online. And I see these guys all the time. They're chattering about stuff. Steve's a Liar guy is the greatest of the parody singers. The greatest. Nobody is a volume shooter. Okay. He is the Hank Aaron of this shit, where he's just putting up prolific numbers that nobody will ever attain unless they're using performance enhancing drugs. Steve's a Liar guy is the GOAT. Now, you'll get guys like the Warden and Carano. Every once in a while, the Blue Moon hits and they'll throw out a song that's pretty good. They'll get aborted too, but every once in a while, they'll put a song out there that's pretty good and they just go away. But Steve's a Liar guy, man. It doesn't matter. He'll do any genre. He doesn't care. He does it all from his phone. Oh, the guy can't sing. Shut the fuck up. Listen. His mouse, everybody else. How about you actually do something, send it in, contribute to the show, or don't. It doesn't matter to me, but you can't bitch about Steve's a Liar guy. He's the GOAT. He is the GOAT. So I'm not here for that. And he was definitely putting a joke out there. It was funny. Laugh. Stop taking it so seriously. I'm right. You're wrong. Once again, Ziggy, your little Stegosaurus, little pea brain, can't figure it out. You don't get the show like I get.
Sheldon, how mad would Red be if I said he was overrated at this point?
Red
He's not overrated, because I do agree he is the best. I will say that Steve's pajama song, like that was the first time where I thought, all right, this isn't really that funny. Like I'm not laughing, and I was kind of mad because it was such a screw up by Steve, and it was like immortalized in a not great song, so it kind of ruined like the opportunity for someone to write a good song about it. So I do think he was in a slump, but he's probably been in slumps before, and I just hadn't paid attention.
I will not stand for Steve a Liar guy's slander. I won't.
Yeah, I think he is the best because he's so quick to turn around something which is underrated or underappreciated, because if you wait like 2 weeks, then put out the song, then you kind of lose the luster. But I mean, I've said this before, but one of the most impressive things I've seen in KMS world was him doing that Sacco, the song about Mike on night 2 of Sacco, Turn It Around in Less Than a Day. And it was one of his best songs. And yeah, obviously not a good singer. You don't expect that. I do like up and comer rock opera because he has a nice mix of, he's not the best singer and he's not the worst singer. It's sometimes Steve's a Liar guy is a little too bad. It's a little too cringy, too pitchy for me. But rock opera is like right in the sweet spot of, sometimes he misses a note, but it's funny. and other times he hits the note, which is good.
You can compliment rock opera without throwing shade at Steve Zlayer. I mean,
I'm just
what do you
being,
mean?
I'm just
Who
being
do you
honest.
think you are, Randy Jackson? This isn't
He's a
America.
little pitchy. He's a little pitchy.
For me, dog. A little pitchy for me, dog. No,
You know, for me, dog. Yeah.
no. So, and I won't stand for this either, Ziggy, because you're somebody who's put out a couple of parody songs.
Yeah, so
I heard Steve.
I know
hated
how to
you.
make a
Like,
bad
you hated
song.
Steve because he wouldn't play your parody songs. Is that what
No,
this
see,
is about?
don't. You're gonna get me as mad as Sheldon knows about Mike. Actually, I would never get that mad. Yeah, I mean, Steve just absolutely made that up. That the reason I don't like him is because I submitted songs and he didn't play them. I submitted one song first. It was played on the show. It wasn't great. They cut it. I had no issue with that. I submitted a second song. I talked about this. It was about the bed and breakfast. I submitted it after the famous Steve's Bed and Breakfast by Steve's a Liar guy. I understood why they wouldn't play a repetitive song. And I emailed, I don't even want to get into this because I'm sure it's boring. I'm going back and forth. Do I clear my name? Do I bore the audience? I don't know. You tell me. Basically, Steve is a liar, and that's all I can say. People want to prove I have it.
You know, liar guy. About that? Steve's a liar guy,
and that is why he's the GOAT, because he immortalized the truth, one of the core truths of the Kirk Minahan show.
Yep, he is the GOAT. So I won't stand for any of that. So that was something I was going to go later on. I went on a bit of a rant there. I would like for guys like Carano to maybe not talk about their views all the time, maybe on Twitter, and maybe actually produce a song. That would be nice. How about that? Hopefully his wrist is healed up. I know he's got disc golf coming up this season, so hopefully he can heal up and be ready for that. Any other random notes, boys?
Steve pirated a Bruce Willis movie, and he thought it was going to be a good movie because Bruce Willis was naturally in it. However, he did not like. I think he was kind of mixed on the movie. He did not like Tenet because they were trying to make it like Inception, but it missed the mark. You know, it missed the mark. Again, noted cinephile Steve Robinson.
Talking movies, it's so bad.
Talking movies with Steve. Yeah. 2 thumbs down.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I think that's all I had for notes. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a ton of it in here, but I think that's all. I thought I had one more. Oh yeah, there was that one. There was the Kirk and Steve show on this past Wednesday, and then 1 minute into it, Kirk gave up and wanted to call Big Cat because he's sitting next to
and Cullinane, yeah.
Called Cullinane as well. The first 8 minutes because he's like, I'm staring at Steve, and Steve's got nothing.
If you're doing a major podcast, you look over and there's Steve's dumb fucking face looking at you. What's he gonna bring?
I should have
bought Steve. You guys remember Sarah Fuller? Oh, no shit.
They lost. I mean, come on.
I
don't know. You know.
Yeah.
What? What?
What?
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
1,000%. Yeah.
All right. What?
All right. So we've got the after show. In the after show, we're gonna go inside and give our Hall of Fame ballots, who we think the Minifans are that should be in the first class. It's a prestigious award. 5 is what we're looking for. Your 5 Minifans for the Hall of Fame. So Sheldon, we'll go to you first. Who's your list of 5? And please give your reasoning if you can.
Okay, I'm not giving you 5 that should get in. I'm giving you 5 that should not get in.
Ooh.
Whoa. Okay.
Number 1.
Like this.
DEC, because he's a whiny bitch and he left. Everyone gets shit on, and then finally he got mad and ran away. So fuck him, can't be on. Number 2, MHB.
Yes.
He also ran away multiple times, comes back, shits all over John from Scranton, Phil, whoever else, and then he runs away again and then comes back. And now he's gone again. Fine. Fucking stay gone. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
Roasted. Go off,
Number
King. Go.
3, Tony Cass. You're not in. You can't be a psychopath and fucking tweet at Jared Krabis and Jerry Callahan a million fucking times. No one gives a shit about your stupid lib takes. So fucking knock it off. And, oh, geez, Jared's trying to big time us. He's on a fucking wrap-up show on a Friday night with you, Tony Cass. Yeah, he's really trying to big time you. So no, you're not fucking getting in. And then my last 2 are whoever the hell Steve votes for. because he should not get to judge the Minifans because he doesn't know the Minifans. So whoever the hell else he wants in, they shouldn't get in. That's my ballot.
That's
Well
it.
done.
I do. I love that. That was going to be my biggest thing was how does Steve Robinson get a vote on this? He said he self-admitted he's checked out on this show and the
Yeah.
fans.
I
He's
mean,
muted us.
I'm kind of screwed. I would never make it in because Steve would never vote for me. Mutt has me blocked, so he's probably not going to vote for me. So I would need to run. I would need to run the board after that. And I don't know if they've said. I think they settled on 10, so I would need the last 8 to make it in. But I'm still in my playing days. I am not retired, so I'm not eligible right now.
All right. Well, give me your list, Ziggy. I'm going to hate this fucking list.
Yeah,
I
you
know
are. You're going to hate this because I went traditional. I looked back the inaugural MLB, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, the very first class, 5 legends, 1936. Who could forget it? So I'm kind of paying an homage to them. So the first we got the Babe Ruth, the face of baseball. Who is the face of Minifans? For me, when I think Minifan, I think Tim and Canton, because he's loyal. He's been there since the beginning. The calls into the show and the prank calls played on the show. So, and I will say these aren't necessarily my top 5 favorites, although I do like Tim. These aren't my top 5 favorites.
Don't couch it.
I'm trying to honor the importance, the weight, the gravitas. I don't even know if that's the right word of the Minifan Hall of Fame. So number 1, Tim McCann. Number 2, Hannes Wagner was one of the 5 legends that made it in 1936. Hannes Wagner is now known for his baseball card. Who's known for baseball cards? TJ Hubbard. TJ, many forget, back in Minifan, Kirk and Callahan days, was kind of like the guy on Minifan Twitter, and kind of like the grandfather of.
You're stealing my take.
Godfather of the Photoshop. So you got to put TJ in there. Third, Ty Cobb, notorious dirty player on the field, and just like an absolutely wretched human being off the field. So obviously, say it with me, Steve from Providence fits that bill. He's got to be in there. Fourth, Christy Mathewson. Many don't know him, known as the Christian Gentleman. He famously fought in World War I and was exposed to chemical gases and ended up dying from that. Who is a soldier that we all love, fought many battles, ultimately paid the price. Blind Prison Mike. So he's my number 4. And then number 5, Walter Johnson. Kind of boring, but a nice guy. Like not super talented, but a nice guy. Who's our nice guy? Mutt. Mutt is a Minifan from day one. And this is getting into the Hall of Fame is all about politics. So I need Mutt on my side as much as I can if I ever want to make it in. So Mutt is my number 5 Minifan in the Hall of Fame.
Never, ever.
There it is.
Mutt, if you are watching, I think you are because you're a Red fan. We're boys. You followed me on my old account. Mutt, never, ever unblock Ziggy. Don't ever do it. Please don't.
As long as he votes for me, that's fine.
Okay. That is, actually, I wasn't mad at that list. I don't know about you, Sheldon, but I wasn't too mad at that list right there. That wasn't bad.
That was actually a pretty good.
I almost put Blobe in there just to tick some people off. But
hey, listen, Blobe and I follow each other. It's peace time.
Wow.
Good. Yeah, so we're good. Blobe and I are simpatico. He had me on his award show. Okay. Don't rush me. No one is
listening after that.
Don't rush me.
5 minutes of baseball talk.
Coming in, okay? Ready? Because I'm going to give this to you. Now, Steve from Providence is my number 1, obviously. Everyone loves him, except for his ex-wife, of course. But he brings everyone together. Everyone loves him. He's walked 90 miles to get to a show. What are the other notables that he's had? So he's walked 90 miles to get to a show. He's talked sense into Kirk too. This is the thing: is he convinced Kirk to leave Entercom to go and join Barstool? So he's kind of a co-founder of the podcast. So he should easily be in on the first ballot. That's a no-brainer. Jared Carabas is my second Minifan to get in. Now, this might not be popular because Jared Carabas isn't very popular with some, but I'll tell you this. He's the father of the podcast. He convinced Kirk to get into podcasting.
Very true.
He showed him the way. Without Jared Carabas, there's no Kirk Minahan show. Kirk wouldn't have been doing podcasting. He'd probably still be on radio somewhere. So without Carabas, we don't have Kirk. He's the Minifan godfather, so he should be in on the first ballot. I wanted to go and make sure that we did some contributors that were just more than just a character. So I'm going a parody song writer and performer. So Steve's a Liar Guy is first ballot Minifan. He is in there. He is the GOAT. He's the best to have ever done it. He goes in on the first ballot. Easy. He is the Cal Ripken Jr. of this because he is the Iron Horse. He will go show to show and he will give you a song. And he has the greatest song that's never been heard unless you were at the live show at Saco too. So he is sneaky good. He goes first ballot. TJ Hubbard is somebody that I had in my list. Again, like Ziggy said, he is the father of the game. He is the meme father. If we don't have his gifts and his style online on Twitter, then we don't get gig. So I would compare TJ to Julius Erving. I'm going to go baseball or basketball for a second. So TJ Hubbard is Julius Erving, and without Julius Erving, I don't get Michael Jordan, which I consider gig. So gig would be in the next class. He wouldn't be in this class. So I don't get gig.
They look pretty similar too.
They're pretty similar. So, and we don't get guys like Fez and Fez's gift game. Okay. We don't get Fez. We don't get Court. So for that reason, TJ Hubbard gets in. And then my last is Dave Cullinane. Cullinane remains the greatest producer to ever have worked with Kirk. He's a moron himself, but he is flanked by even bigger morons in Chris Curtis and Steve Robinson. So for that reason, Dave Cullinane is the greatest producer to ever do it. He's a Minifan, so he goes into the Hall of Fame as well. So those are my five.
My only issue is if you're gonna put Jared in because without Jared, we wouldn't have KMS. I mean, without Peter and Patricia Minahan, we wouldn't have Kirk Minahan. So you should probably throw those in there somewhere as well. Although he might not have been a Minifan because he didn't tell Kirk he loved him too much.
Right. And I don't know where Patricia, I don't know where she would stand on some of the things that are going on in KMS now. You know what I mean? Like there's some controversy.
The Mostaldi. Yeah.
There's some things. I don't know if she would have stuck with us. Maybe she would have gone away too. Like these. I have no idea. So I can't put her there. All I know is I can play with who brought me in.
And if she went away, she wouldn't be in. And I would tell you why.
That's right. Let me go back to that list too. So those are my five. I think my five are far superior to Ziggy's, but I understand what you're trying to do there, Ziggy.
I mean, if you want, I can rip yours apart. Like Cullinane, I don't think. Well, he definitely doesn't listen now, and he was like on the radio when.
We don't know that he doesn't listen now. We don't.
Yeah. I know.
We can go back and forth here. You don't know. I don't know. I'm just telling you. He is the greatest. Don't talk over me. He's the greatest producer to ever have done it with Kirk. Therefore, he's the greatest. So he's
the Moonlight. He's the Moonlight Graham of producers. He had that one cup of coffee, and
wow,
he's lost to the ages. Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, I mean, you went Tim and Canton. Okay, so you called Tim and Canton the Babe Ruth. So
that was a tough one. Like no one's the Babe Ruth of the Minifans.
Yeah, I mean that was really shitty. That's how you started out.
I guess I'm the Mike Trout, like clear trajectory, first ballot, but I'm still like I said, I'm still in my prime, still producing. So.
He's the Babe Ruth of Tradio. Yes, absolutely. Fine. If you want to give him that, fine. He was the first one you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That one was a little difficult to shoehorn in there, but
yes, it was. All right, so that's our Minifan Hall of Fame. I think it was a great list that I had. Sheldon, yours was probably the best. We probably should have ended with yours, but that is what it is. Ziggy, do you have any thoughts on this? Is usually when we go into the Miniverse and we go into YouTube stuff.
Yeah, thoughts? YouTube's kind of making a comeback. Obviously, Minifamily, like awesome show. There's so much in there. Like you had it playing in the background. I saw the William Hung video, a cameo. Like even that alone, that's funny stuff. Those guys put a lot of thought into it. They just jam packed that show with stuff.
Our guy Ziggy, our guy Fez is right there too.
Right, that schmuck. Yep. And like Jared going on the wrap up, Steve for whatever reason wasn't even at. That was very odd that Steve went on the wrap up show. I don't know if he was trying to prove that he's not checked out. That's probably the case. He said a lot on that show that could have been discussed on the main show, but that's all right for another time. The YouTube's making a comeback, so that's good to see.
I love it. I'm happy to be a part of it. I think Menners will be coming back and hopefully working off of us every other week. So that's going to be good. I think Saturday nights are going to be awesome on the YouTube. Hopefully there's some more coming on there too. Sheldon, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I just want to agree with Ziggy that I think the YouTube is making a comeback, and I'm glad that Kirk yelled at Justin about All in the Minute Family, because now, like, what would we do without last Saturday's show?
Right, which is funny because if what happened last Saturday had happened 2 Saturdays before, then Justin would have cut his own like epic moment from the YouTube because it wasn't what it was billed to be.
That's true. That's true. We didn't give him 5 minutes. He did more than that, which was good.
Right.
Gentlemen, thank you. Sheldon, I hope February looks good for you and Steve. Hopefully we get you a response. We'll see. Pleasure as always. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Anything
Just real quick, thoughts and prayers to Oyster Guy.
Oh God. Rough. Real rough.
Oh,
one more thing. Great song from Kevin from Bristol on today's show. It was.
Oh yeah, that was a great song.
That
Ziggy,
was a great song. And no, Ziggy has no thoughts on it. Do not do this, Ziggy. That song was great. Set to Sweet Caroline, and it made Carabas laugh. And he said he doesn't like parody songs. It was a great song. I will not hear any bad words about
Ziggy,
it.
did you have any thoughts on that?
The chorus was a little forced. It was a little forced. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it there. I don't want to
scared. I'm scared of Sheldon.
I'm gonna say, and I'll say this: it never fucking ends. That rap song focused on Mike earlier in the week should not have been cut off. By the way, that was
a good song too. One
of the rare times that they got that wrong. They should have kept that rolling. But Kirk's not a rap guy, so it is what it is. He probably thinks it's overrated, kind of like In-N-Out Burger and everything else there. So probably Ziggy didn't like it either. But
Kirk was right; it was overrated.
Okay, all right.
Great,
well, thank you,
guys. So
noodle arms. See you later, guys.
Kowloon Cabana. Okay.
He goes by Rocket. He knows his soundtracks. With his jet black greasy hair and his streakless underwear, he'll go out drinking and meet a nice girl. But when he gets her in the bed, he just assumes she gives some head. But then she heads down south, his asshole meets her mouth. I just hope he cleans his starfish as well as his mom cleans his house. He is Jared Carabas, the human-ass buffet of saugus. Yeah, that's Jared Carabas. If a chocolate tossed salad agrees with your palate, call the Rocket. Tony Cass's bitch.
Don't know what that means. Okay.
Is that the guy that was on? You know, Jared was on the wrap-up.
Her name
show.
was Andrea.
Oh, that girl. Yeah.
She liked the ganja. Relationship was progressing fast until he mentioned eating ass. So we went to the Kowloon, got the poo-poo platter. That's the code name at the bar when the tongue slips down a bit too far and lands in his doo-doo. Jared's ass gets split in two, so gross that the Wongs decided to sell. So tell me who fucked who? He is Jared Carabas. On the topic of ass to mouth, he was dishonest. Yeah, that's Jared Carabas. If rim jobs were money, he'd retire somewhere sunny. He's the Rocket.
That's pretty good.
Rest in peace, Bob.